Welcome back to Donald Kent Art, formerly American Zarathustra. Happy to have you guys here. We have a very, very special show today. This one is going in the history books for the White Art Collective. So I'm so happy to have you join us. Before we start, let me let you know that my new book is available on Amazon, Imperium Calling, The Art and Poetry of Donald Kent. It's a compendium of works that I've done in the dissident right over the last 7 years, plus a lot of new stuff that no one's seen before. So the link is in the description. Please share and leave a review or give me some comments on my book. So today, we've got a very important show. Like I say, it's a bookmark in the history of the White Art Collective, of the arts and the culture of the white identity movement. So at the time of recording this show, there are currently 330 subscribers to the monthly White Art Challenge Telegram, most of which are artists. So this is a giant new influx of artists into the White Art Collective, quite significant. My guest today is one of the admins for this group. And so it's, first of all, I should say that the group was started by our beloved Jay LaDark, the greatest graphic designer in the White Art Collective. She's done the artwork for Hyrith's new albums, and we're actually going to look at some of that today. Jay can't join us right now. We'll definitely have her on in the future to talk more about the monthly White Art Challenge. It's just been a pleasure to work with her and everybody here. It's quite wonderful. So let's get into it. Let me introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Aya Iron Arm. How are you doing, Aya?
Well, I'm pretty all right. Just got
Pretty
off
all right.
work, but
Right.
you know,
Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
yeah,
All
wonderful.
right. And what country are you in now?
I'm in Sweden. I'm born and raised here.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that's why this show is at 9:40 a.m. in America, Eastern time.
Yeah,
So doing these European shows are always a little funny, a little tricky with the timing. I think I have morning voice still, that kind of sexy morning voice I've got. Anyway, so could you tell our viewers a little about yourself and why you joined the monthly White Art Challenge?
yeah, sure. Well, I'll say something about myself.
Mm,
I've always been a creative person. I'm
mm,
still quite young. I just turned 20.
mm,
Um, but I've always been a bit of an artist.
mm,
Made My dad got me into woodworking when I was like,
mm-hmm.
he gave me my first knife when I was 4, and I've
Mm,
always been kind of in that space
yeah.
and slowly getting better and better. So my main medium is wood. Uh, so I make furniture, daily use objects, and I always aspire to to ground them in the cultural roots of my country and of Scandinavia. We have a
Mm,
very rich tradition of wood carving in this part of the world. So I have a rich tradition to draw from, and I always make sure to stay close. Yeah, as you can see, I try to stay close to the roots. My stuff is more towards uh, kind of inspired by the Viking Age, not
the Viking.
strictly historically, strictly historically accurate all the time,
Okay.
but it's been. I don't know the name of the English name of the movement, but in like the early 20th century, we had
Mm,
like a revival of uh, quote unquote traditional aesthetics,
nice.
which I'm drawing from here. It's
Great.
called nationalromantik in Swedish. Would be something like national romance if you were to translate it directly, and that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Love of the homeland.
Yes, of
Uh,
course. I'm really impressed with your work. And also I want to say, in the context of the White Art Collective, we really haven't had the variety of craftsmen in the movement yet. And so, people like yourself, who's also an admin to the White Art Challenge, are bringing a whole new world in, or a whole new medium, I guess, into our world. So we have jewelers and different iron workers, and here you are doing woodwork. It's so lovely to see these traditional crafts being brought into the fold, into the community of the White Art Collective. So I'm really, really pleased with this. Can you talk to me a little bit about the symbols in your work? The carvings, and for example, is this a horse? Is this a dragon? What are these images? If you could.
Well, I pull a lot of it's called Urnes style
Mm-hmm.
and Ringerike. It's from sadly from Denmark and Norway mostly, because I think
Okay.
their style was the coolest.
Mm-hmm.
It's loosely based on historically accurate findings of from rune stones and
Mm-hmm.
various picture carvings they've found in those places. So they're like place names become synonymous with this particular uh, style of that part of the Viking Age. It spans a couple of centuries, and things changed.
Mm-hmm.
So the meanings here on this particular piece, well, it's mostly dragons. You
Okay.
know, that's what I mostly associate with uh,
Mm-hmm.
that part of my culture. The runestones and the slithering dragons and stuff. And then on the edge here, I've made a little braid that just kind of tie it all together. I was
Right.
actually thinking of Jormungandr when I carved that braid around the edge there, like the serpent that holds the world together, right?
Wow. Nice.
And then with those the second rim of symbols that's supposed to be, it's not actually Odal runes, the rune for heritage, but it's pretty close. I thought it would look nicer to not just cover it in runes, because that's been done so much already.
Okay.
And then the middle is it's a four-pronged variation of the normally three-pronged Valknut. That's the warrior's heart, the symbol of Odin.
Wow.
I would say I am Odin's man. That's my main god. I of
Okay.
course worship Thor, as you would, but
Mm.
I feel more connected to him, and
Mm.
since that's why I carved that big Valknut right in the middle there.
That's so powerful. That's so awesome and beautiful. This is, I think, one, just to bring a larger context to what is happening here, is that in the art world and the art discussions that we have a lot of debates in our art community about aesthetics versus propaganda and everything in between. And so one thing that there's really not enough discussion about is folk arts and crafts. And of course, the crafts are under the the arts umbrella. So I don't see much of that. And so it's nice to see more of that coming out. And it's so lovely to hear you talk, intelligently about, you're bringing your culture alive through your works. And then other people get to share in that and connect to that culture and connect to those roots, connect to something esoteric about this spiritual practice of Asatru or Odinism, and then you're a living example of it. So this is keeping our traditions is a radical move in a world that is anti-white, in a world that has targeted whites for degradation and replacement. So this is, to me, heroic, and I'm really, really enjoying it a lot. So let me kind of click around a little bit and see if we how many angles we have here. Oh, that's my book. Let me come back to your work here a little bit.
I could
I
send you
Go ahead.
I could send you a few more images now that I think about it. Just keep
Oh,
talking. I'll send you
yeah, it
as
might
we
be
go
tricky
along.
to do because there's a lot of bells and whistles I have to be operating on my end to keep the show going. But so, like, here's a close up of one of the areas here. Now, is all this just raw wood that you bought and then you had to do everything to kind of, I don't know, like, are you using glue, nails? Are you kind of carving it so that it wedges together? And what's like the process of building something like this?
The process of building something like this, it starts with finding a nice piece of wood.
Mm,
This is all mahogany, actually,
mm, mm.
except the little dragon head. That's American walnut. Um,
Oh, okay.
I bought it from a local woodworker, like
Mm,
a carpenter guy.
mhm.
It's when I bought it was all these planks, so
Yes.
I had to cut it to fit. and then it's wedged and glued together for additional strength.
Sure.
This was the first time I ever tried some of these bigger projects, so it's a bit wonky sometimes. But yeah, it's dovetailed and it's glued.
So quick point I want to make out about, you're saying it's wonky. Every artist, I don't know how to say this. When I was in college as a young man learning painting and drawing, etc., I heard this expression that you only paint one painting in your lifetime. You just do it over many canvases. And so this says a lot about the process of art, that we learn the craft as we go. And so it's nice to see the evolution of somebody's work. And then, because it's a whole body of work, it's not just one piece of work. So a year from now, 5 years, 10 years from now, when you look back at this compared to the new work you're doing, I think it'll be a really nice sense of accomplishment that you'll have.
Hmm.
That's cool. So there's a lot going on here. We have a lot of other artworks to share with people. So I'm just going to kind of click through here a bit. Once again, just a quick plug here, my new book, Imperium Calling, The Art and Poetry of Donald Kent. The link is in the show notes below. Please check that out and leave a good review. Here's this came up in the discussion on the Telegram, about like aesthetics. Like somebody posted this, I think, on Twitter or something, and it was like somebody insulting the right wing, saying, "Until you get this level of aesthetics, you're always going to lose the culture war." It's like left wingers. They never know that we have our own culture and that we are the root of culture, of Western culture, and meanwhile, they're looking at degenerate pride flags and like creepy, weird stuff on Netflix, yada yada. But I just thought this might be I don't know, it's just kind of a refreshing thing to look at how you've got like ancient sculpture with modern technology, and everything is sort of community oriented. These parks and things that you keep seeing this train in the background of these images. Anyway, this isn't anything from somebody in our group, but I just thought it would set kind of an interesting tone for discussion. But
I
let's
really
look.
like the top right one.
Oh, let me go back a quick second here. Top right or left?
Top right, the yellow one.
Oh, yes,
Uh,
with the fountain there. That's nice. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like the cross symbolism. I mean, I'm obviously not Christian, but I
Mhm.
think that's nice.
Oh,
That's
that is.
a cool little touch.
Yeah, it's a real nice composition. I think color is huge in these. So like the one in the middle has yellow and purple. Those are complementary colors.
Mm.
Here you have a lot of monochromatic colors. So for example, different here you've got different shades of blue. Here you've got different shades of green, and then some highlights with other colors. But that's technical stuff, that the
Yeah.
common person doesn't know those things, but artists, this is our language. So let's look at some work from different people in the monthly challenge. This is, I thought this was kind of interesting because of the folklore of Europe, and things like fairies and giants and trolls and elves and all that. That there's something really playful about it. It's not this like deep, heavy propaganda, but
Yeah.
there's like a very wide range of artworks that are playful and folk oriented, all the way to hardcore national socialist propaganda. So like there's
Yeah.
that's a vast range of identity there. But can you speak on this piece a little
Hold
bit?
on, you're cutting out a bit. I'm just gonna see if I have better connection
What are
over
your
over here.
thoughts
Give me a moment.
about this kind of folk?
But yeah, like you said, a lot of the uh, one of the goals of the collective is to bring playfulness to our side,
Oh,
because
okay.
it's been
Okay,
uh, fuck.
well, you do that, and I'm gonna
I'm gonna relog. Give me a moment.
Oh, mhm. See. Hey, well, can you guys hear me? The computer crashed right in the middle of the show. How awful. I'm going to have to do some editing later to take that out. If someone in the chat could just say hi and let me know that you can hear what I'm doing here. The broadcast is still live. So, what we're going to do is bring back my guest. Let me get going on that. Very sorry, computer gremlins. Thank you so much, Yiz. I appreciate that. We need to do a show as well. Um, I need to come on your show as well. Let's get that hooked up. So I will be editing all this out later. I apologize. Let me get my buddy back on here. Um, you gotta love tech, like you do. You set these shows up and it's going fine, and then those computer gremlins jump on and say, nope, I'm going to sabotage you. So if anyone's ever worked with StreamYard or maybe not had a good internet connection, or I don't know, who even knows? I mean, maybe it's UFOs and Bigfoot, man, like they came and sabotaged my show, dude. So maybe that's it, but certainly I'll PM you. Good, thanks. Yes, it'd be good to get that hooked up. I'm trying to get this channel off the ground again, and we're back.
There we go.
The FBI cannot stop this show. I'm telling
The
you,
FBI
man.
cannot stop us.
No, they can crash my internet connection. Anyway, this part two of the show here, I'll have to go in and edit out that huge space. And thank you so much to the people that are in the chat and joined us. Once again, a quick reiteration here. The monthly White Art Challenge is a group on Telegram created by Jay Ledark, the graphic designer, artist extraordinaire of the White Art Collective. Aya and I are both admins in the group, and we're going to be looking at artwork from that monthly art challenge group today. And then anybody in the chat, if you guys have questions throughout the show, I'll pop your question on screen, and we can have like a really nice conversation. So while I'm getting the images and stuff set up, if you could start where we left off, Aya, talking about bringing back some kind of whimsical light spirit to the artwork. We're looking at that image of a fairy, like a green fairy, a wood nymph.
Of course.
Yeah. So talk to us a bit about that, and what's the goals of the monthly. Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, that's the grandfather clock. Sorry.
Nice. Did you carve the wood of that as well, or no?
No, it predates me by a couple of decades.
Oh, okay. You're still young. Huh? All right. But yeah, please tell us about like what's the goals of the monthly White Art Challenge.
Of course. I was talking to Jay about that actually. It's a couple of months now ago, and she made me realize that our mission is sort of like to bring, as I said, bring back the whimsicalness to our side of the political sphere, maybe, because I personally noticed that a lot of our work is. We talked about it yesterday. It's too much of guys in ski masks flexing in black and white photos.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's good. That needs to exist too, but you also need to have a counterbalance with a bit of whimsical, happy stuff. So that's what we're doing in our group.
Yeah, that's it's funny you should say that because I mean all art movements I think will need to grow and evolve. That there's got to be times when like, okay, this new thing is not really new anymore. We've done the skull masks and the flexing and all this and that, which is good fun and all, but it's nice to get back to folk arts. It's nice to kind of relax. And every artist in the white identity culture is an individual, with their own thoughts, feelings, history, blah, 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 whatever. For, in your case, you're showing and sharing with us how your woodwork is part of your sort of spiritual cultural practice and mythology, and that's really powerful stuff. It doesn't all have to be kind of hardcore you know, flexing or what have you.
Yeah.
So
It can't always be sonnenrads and
yeah, yeah.
swastikas. You gotta have
Swastikas.
something else.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to click around and look at the different works. Wave Guy has been doing some interesting AI art with this kind of retro poster stuff. I don't know what the software, I should call it stuff. And this is a funny thing: Zog bots, Zog Zionist organized government. You know, this
Occupied.
occupied government. Sorry, I think both work though. Actually, you know, but
Oh, okay.
yes, we are occupied by Zionists in our governments, and that's why white genocide is happening, and that's what we're rebelling against. So this is the cultural, political context of the art, even though the art is kind of funny and cool in its own way. You know, I'm not sure Steven Spielberg will direct this one, but anyway. So what are your
Ask Mel,
thoughts on this?
ask Mel Gibson.
Oh, there you go. Yes, my God, we need Mel Gibson on our side. Like, we got to
Yeah,
get him
we
into
really
the
do.
White Art Collective. You know, he's got to join the White Art Collective.
Yeah, we gotta get him
Um,
on Telegram. But
yeah,
my thoughts on this
yeah,
piece.
sure, sure.
Well, I remember when this when the whole AI art thing really got going. We
Mm-hmm.
had a massive discussion about that actually in the
Mm-hmm.
group.
Mm-hmm.
If you could classify it as art, and you had a whole, oh, it's demonic and evil, and then the other side were like, maybe we can use it more. Personally, I fall into the demonic and evil camp. If I'm being completely honest,
Okay.
I think it's a goddamn abomination. I mean, it's good art,
Yeah.
but it's still soulless in a way. I
Oh,
think,
AI. You're talking about your thoughts on AI
yeah, my thoughts
specific.
on AI.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
piece is it's really it's good. It's no critique of the man behind the piece. I'm just
yeah, yeah.
talking about the medium in general. My thoughts on it. But
Mm-hmm.
this piece looks really good, as you said, a retro movie poster feel.
Yeah.
I'd like to see this in theaters.
Oh, dude, I know. I mean, you got to figure in some years from now, we will be mainstream, and people will, you know, they'll have figured it out by then. So like, you never
Yeah.
know. And that's kind of what I'm doing with my comics. You know, the end game of comics is film. But so let's look at some other things. We also have poetry
Oh
in
yeah, this guy,
in this book.
MK, whatever his name is. It's really cool.
Yeah,
His
MKV.
Yeah.
So not only does he write poetry, but he's developed his own kind of typography,
Mm.
which I think is kind of interesting. It makes it more interesting to read. I'll read this. So, white lands, your hopes and dreams are calling. Echoes of blood flash on the cave walls. Victorious, we emerge to the new dawn. That's nice.
Ooh, that makes me think a screwdriver.
Uh, so this is I think this is really neat that he's got his own world. You know, he has this
Mm.
kind of nice cadence, nice calligraphy. He's kind of like, it almost looks like he really wants to be a visual artist. You know, I could imagine this in painting form would
Mm.
be quite a beautiful picture. You know, so any comments on this?
Wonderful. As someone that's slowly getting into calligraphy as well,
Hmm.
I really love his work. I find it the composition is so unique, and
Yeah,
it's got like a jagged feeling to it, and I really like that.
yeah.
It,
What I would say is, what I like, my recommendation to him is to use some kind of a brush instead of a
mm,
pen, for example. Then he might get some more lively lines out of that. If you notice also on the side there, there's a kind of like a knife or a sword with a blue flower on it. It
yeah.
kind of adds something to the. So in a sense, you've got poetry, calligraphy, and photography all sort of working together. You know. And
You know what this reminds me of?
yeah.
Kurt Egger, is that his name? You know,
Mm,
the Waffen SS officer.
okay. Yeah.
He,
pronunciation isn't right, but yeah.
yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Uh,
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think he's kind of inspired that
Mm,
by that guy.
I gotcha. If you look at the top where it says "Wanted in search of for Nazis in America," and then this interesting little I don't know what even to call it up at the very very top there, you can kind of see the context of what he's talking about and the idea of like victorious we emerge to the new dawn. So this opens up a giant can of worms about the discussion of where we're going and like how the World War II narrative is sort of the fulcrum of everything, and that we have to get the truth out about World War II, even though it's very complex. So, but that could be a whole show in itself. So but I want to move on and look at some other things. This is just something that struck me as funny: the decline and fall of Western art, blah blah blah. Like, well, you're going to be
It's
writing
over.
the rise of the new Western art, because
Hell yeah.
I mean, we as a movement are so ghosted. We're so censored. We're so ostracized that the mainstream doesn't know we exist. And then you get all these people putting these books out. We're keeping these traditions alive, and that's what this group is about. So, it's and police would like you to know that this man is at large. Please be wary of Packy Nazi White Art Collective. It's just a funny thing. Somebody tried to steal our I should say Jeff Winston's group, because he obviously started it, but I just think this is a comical thing that everyone could get a laugh from. Anyway, wow. Now back on the spectrum of political art here. Now this is
Oh hell
clearly
yeah.
quite on the other opposite end of the spectrum. I want to first off say that the drawing skill is quite excellent here. I'm really enjoying the level of skill here, but
Mm.
there's also something interesting happening with the collage, the use of the word modern, ultra modern. Can you comment a little bit about this piece and how it fits into the white art monthly challenge?
Well, we've always had a. Well, I say we. Well, I'm gonna be so bold as to go ahead and speak for the whole collective here, even though I'm not Jay. Uh,
Yeah.
I think uh, a lot of people in our group, and me especially, have a pretty deep connection to nature.
Hmm.
Not only as a pagan, uh, and that connects back to the whole whimsical connecting to our roots and playfulness thing. And
Hmm.
who better to be the symbol for standing against the modern world than Uncle Ted himself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, I've watched documentaries about him. I know what he symbolizes in our movement. And
Mhm.
it's that whole kind of like, reject the modern world is generally the symbolism. I think it'll be interesting to see how people like him, how the symbolism of people like him change over time. You look at a picture, I don't know, of gosh, JFK or Abraham Lincoln or people in history, and the ideas of that person change over time depending on the political winds and how they change and all this. So I think that this piece is going to have like a long life to it. It has a certain
Yeah.
something going on here. So let's move on a little bit and look at some more work. um Hold on, I gotta get my tech stuff in order here. What's next? Okay, some work from Jay Ledark. Oh no, this is from Peregrine, and this is some kind of sculptural craft. It's quite lovely. It looks like wood. I would say that this horse is probably made out of some kind of like a clay type material that can be
Mhm.
molded and baked or dried. I really
I think
like
so too.
Yeah, I really really like Peregrine's work. Um, Now you could speak more to the symbolism here. You've got a snake. Looks like he's almost, well, there's sort of a snake in the center here. Pardon me. You've got these horse heads, and then these runes. And
Yeah.
excuse me, and then it's all mounted on this piece of wood here. Can you explain this to us? Give us some background on this image.
Well, I could make an attempt.
Go
Well,
ahead.
first off, we've got some kind of gem there, and
Hmm.
I don't know anything about gemstones, so I'm gonna have to leave that blank. But the
Mm.
little snake, I think that's an Ouroboros, right? The snake eating his own tail.
Right.
The time is
That's
a
what it
flat
looks like.
circle,
Yeah.
and all that. Also, a common symbolism in Norse mythology. You know, Jörmungandr, the world serpent, and all that.
Yeah.
Then we've got some elder Futhark runes, and this is embarrassing, but I can't read them all. But I can
Mhm.
see at least one an Udal rune, that's for
Mhm.
heritage,
Okay.
and a life rune,
Mm.
and then you've got two other ones that I
Mhm.
sadly enough can't read. Embarrassing.
The one over on the left side I see very frequently in
Yeah, that's the life rune. That's the life
yeah,
rune.
yeah, that seems to be like one of the most common runes that identify like Nordic religion, but also like the white identity movement. It's quite common, and it's also considered a hate symbol by the ADL for your information.
Oh
And
yeah,
this
the
is the
bottom
thing
one also.
this is the thing I can't say enough is that only whites define our own symbols. No outside culture can tell us what our ancient and sacred symbols are. Period. So that's done.
You know what you do with people who try to do that to you?
What do you do?
You beat their heads in.
Well, we don't advocate violence on this show.
Sometimes it's
Only
necessary.
only fictional violence, like in
Of course,
Minecraft.
only fictional violence in
But
Minecraft.
I mean, like in my comic books, for example, there's a lot of violence, but so is the same thing in Netflix and Hollywood and movies and video games. So there's a space there between reality and fiction and something. So, but anyway, let's move on to some other works here. We've got some poetry by Dave Martell,
Oh yeah,
um,
his work is also wonderful.
the Bog
I
Master. I think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just like to say something about the piece we just looked at.
Okay.
That horses they have
Yeah.
a pretty central place in like Indo-European myths. If you, I don't know if you're aware. So
Sure.
that kind of connects together. It's also Sleipnir, the horse of Odin, and all
Mhm.
that. It kind of
Mhm.
ties together, and that's I think that's lovely how you can just layer
Yeah.
things on top of other things.
It's
So
exquisite.
yeah, it really is wonderful
Now
piece.
here's another analysis of this piece is that the way that these horse heads are arranged forms a swastika.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so, yeah, and once again, I just recently saw a map of swastikas around the world. Like they have swastikas in Africa, Native America, Asia. It's some kind of ubiquitous ancient sacred
Mm.
symbol. I have a background in Asian culture, Buddhism, etc. So from in my background, my perspective, it's a representation of eternal life, of reincarnation, of these things, the teachings of the Buddha and these various things. Obviously, we know the National Socialist version of it. But once again, this brings up this topic of this the small clan of genocidal anti-whites telling us what our symbols mean is absurd, and for the world to like believe that is just pure false propaganda. They have to be awakened to the beauty and the true message of these deep symbols.
A
Anyway.
really interesting thesis I've heard about the swastika is I don't know if you're aware,
Mm.
but what's it called? Ursa Major, the star sign.
Mhm.
Uh, if
Mhm.
you if you uh, if you let if you fuck it rotates, right?
Yeah.
It rotates
Yes,
uh,
yes.
with the passing of the year, and then
Right.
if you look at it in various positions, that forms a swastika.
Exactly. So you have spring, summer, winter, fall.
Yeah. You've probably seen the image, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
and we call it the Big Dipper, and then
Oh
it,
yeah,
it
Big
kind of
Dipper.
rotates on a central hub, and
Mm.
so again, this is representing time. This is representing eternity. This is representing nature, the passage of all these things. It's a profound symbol, and it's in the sky. I mean, it's in the cosmos. So you know, for to call that a hate symbol is just like very, very political and very petty. But let's move on because there's so
Okay.
much to cover, and we could talk forever. So I just want to get moving on here. So Dave Martell, close friend. Please go to thebizarchives.com, thebizarchives.com. Dave is publishing fabulous books. I have uh, the second edition, or rather, the second issue of the BIZARCHIVES. I did illustrations in that book. So, big fan of Dave. And I think that his work and his ideas, etc., they cross over beautifully into the White Art Challenge. So, I'm just going to read this quickly here. This is called Down the Shore by Dave Martell. O sun-kissed sands and shining shores, I yearn to walk upon thee, to feel the salt breeze in my hair and hear the gulls above me. Winter has been long and grim, and has paled me face to foot, but now I dream to float and swim, covered in sand and soot. Then let me traipse the old boardwalk that stretches beneath blue skies. Let me drench vinegar malt on my feast of fresh cut fries. Let my sons just run amok down the arcade aisles. On big box games, they try their luck with surprises bringing smiles. To hear the washing waves break, conjure memories from long ago of taffy, fudge, and funnel cake. So down the shore I must go. What a lovely, lovely poem. I mean, you know,
Oh,
it's
wonderful.
that's so charming. I mean, this is something that everybody can identify with, and I think that there's the relationship between father and son, the relationship with nature, the relationship with memories, and these kind of, you know, experiences in the white world. Frankly, you know, where
Mm.
we do these fun things at summertime, and it's charming. I don't know. Anyway, I just love it. I thought that would be a fun thing to do. And any comments from the gallery
Well,
here?
this is exactly what the art collective is aiming for. That just spontaneous. Oh, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm,
That's what you want to make
mm-hmm,
people feel.
mm-hmm.
We are sadly in a position where we can't afford to scare people away. It's my belief, at least. Uh,
Interesting. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
we
Wow.
should focus on just gaining traction, attracting members, and,
Beautiful.
and working, building the pyramid, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So there's so many dimensions to this. On the one hand, it's returning to the wholesomeness of white culture that we maybe took for granted. You know, when you're the majority in your own country, you don't think about these things. They're just
No.
normal. And then when you're you know, everywhere around you is attacking you, it was 24/7. Suddenly a poem about, you know, cotton candy on the boardwalk or something is like, oh, a cherished memory, I want to go back, you know, to these times of innocence. It's quite powerful. So another charming piece here is Maiden's Hair. This
Oh
piece
yeah.
is created with all kinds of, like, just like flower petals and leaves, and it's just a lovely little inventive piece. If you think about painting as dabbing color on a canvas with a paintbrush, she's using these flower petals like little dabs of paint. How lovely, how inventive, and how charming. And it's a really nice little composition as well. It's very well balanced. Just a marvelous little piece. This exactly hits the point that you were saying before, you know, about like creating charming work, wholesome work.
Hmm.
Any comments on this?
Uh, I'm just sitting here smiling, looking at it. But as you said, this is wonderful work. Like
Yes.
the skill and patience required to do this, I
Mhm.
think symbolizes our people, right?
Well done. Yeah, that's well said. There's something there. It's more than just a work of art. It's an expression of the Western biospirit in a way, right? Because I mean, we have a fabulous tradition of so many kinds of arts: Art Nouveau, Renaissance. I mean, you could go on and on. So here is a really, really great work of graphic design by Jay Ledark. This is the cover of Hyrith's new album, Woven. Strongly recommend looking this up. You can YouTube it. You can buy her CD at the whiteartcollective.com store. They've got a wonderful store filled with music. My art prints are at the store, I have to say. But
Oh
all
shit! I
kinds.
didn't know this.
Yeah, you can buy Donald Kent art prints. They're I think they're like $20. They're real, affordable. So, but I just think this is really charming because Hyrith and Jay Ledark are two of the matriarchs of the white art collective and the general white identity culture. So, to see these two collaborate in this kind of way is very just enjoyable and very lovely. I think what's interesting about this piece is the use of the moon cycles in this kind of circular pattern. The crows. Hyrith has like she really likes this kind of like darker aesthetic that's kind of mysterious and esoteric, which is very, very.
Actually, the
Go
Ravens.
ahead. Ravens. I
No,
apologize. Okay, well then you jump in on this one.
well, I think there's, as we can see, a pretty close connection to Norse mythology. Once again, you've got the runic kind of style on the artist's name, right? You've got
Exactly. Yeah.
you've got the ravens. Well, I read them as ravens. I might be wrong, but in my mind they're ravens. Hugin and
Okay.
Munin, right? Odin's
Well,
ravens.
probably you're right because the Hyrith, I would, I think it's fair to say, has a strong attraction or relationship to indigenous Norse religion. So go on.
Yeah, and then you've got the moon cycle, of course, which is
Mm-hmm.
really important for our our practice, really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Phases of the
What's
moon.
for sure. What's also what I particularly find interesting about this piece is how light it is, though. It's
Yeah.
not just black, dark, 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 kind of like heavy thing, but actually there's something kind of I don't know. It's almost watery in a way. There's
Mm.
something sort of it. I don't know, and that really matches Hyrith's voice, her artistic voice. Um, in that like she has something very dark about her music, but also something exquisitely naive and pure, and which is extremely charming. And what a amazing tension between those two elements in her music. So Jay Ledark brilliantly captured that in this artwork here. So I'm kind of taking the microphone too much here. I should let you talk more, but
It's
I
your
think
show,
that
man. It's your show.
oh no, you're the guest on the show. No, I think that Jay made this. I don't know. I found this in the Telegram, and she posted it. So I just thought, well, maybe she made it. The most precious possession you have in this world is your own people. Um, it's just a beautiful craft piece here. Any comments that you want to add?
Well, it's a wonderful sentiment, right? Yeah, I think we all will agree on this. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good.
Now, what do the mushrooms have to do with this image? What would you say?
I'm not actually sure. I've seen a lot of mushroom posting in our circles recently. I I
Okay.
I I, I think it's something with the circle of life and returning back to nature and
Okay.
they're kind of fun. At least I think funguses are fun. They aren't
Okay.
plants. They aren't animals. There's some weird in between.
Okay. All right. I think
Uh,
everybody can sense the implications there.
oh,
JL.
fuck! I just realized, man. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
stupid.
yeah, yeah. Well, see, my understanding is that, I assume it's probably psilocybin. It's a particular mushroom that is part of ceremonies in Norse religion. I don't even think the word religion works with that, but Norse spirituality. And the Norse are not the only ones to use mushrooms. You've got peyote,
No, of
you've
course not.
got you've got all
Everyone.
indigenous cultures somehow plugged into this and for freaking gosh thousands of years. So Anyway, and we're not advocating the use of illegal drugs on this show. But so let's move on here. JL, this is just looks more like a practice painting, but I'm that she or he. I believe this is a woman, meaning the artist is a woman, is quite talented. Look at more art as we go here. Um, GD Wish Doctor. This is a really interesting piece. Would you like to comment on this a little bit? Critique it, maybe.
Could you zoom in a moment?
Okay, let me
Oh,
try to get.
that's just wonderful.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
And if the audience wants to chime in as well, I'm kind of jumping back and forth between screens here, so I can't quite see what the chat is doing. But there's something about the illustration style with the use of stippling. Stippling is when you use dots, like use a pen, like a black and white pen, and just like fill in that kind of quality. Something nightmarish and dreamlike about this.
Yeah, I think it's really gothic. I really like it.
Oh, that's well said. That's very well said. The use of like the natural wreath with at the bottom you've got the flowers, but then you've got thorns on the top, kind of showing like the positive and negative aspects of life. Why is there like electrical towers in there? Is that something to do with like the radiation and the modern world? I mean, the more you give to this piece, I think the more you get out of it. That's what I would say.
It's electromagnetic waves.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on
really
a little bit. It's pretty neat. So I'm showing the audience of the variety of works that are out here. I'm trying to zoom in here. Forwarded by Jay Ladark Arts. This is again like Jay is a master of graphic design. This piece is so brilliantly balanced. The use of the raven, the use of the symbols, the way that they're kind of put together in that sense. I don't know if this. It looks like this is a new wood polymer piece that she's making. So she's also physically crafting these things. It's not all just like done on Photoshop or something. What can you say about this piece? Yeah. Are you there? Oh, I'm not hearing anything from you. Are you there, buddy? Oh dear. Hoping that the computer is not going to crash again on me for the second time in the show. Can you guys in the chat hear me? Probably yes, I would assume. Well, I guess I'll wait for him to come back on here. I think this is a nice piece. Let's move on. Don't know why I'm being plagued with tech issues today, but we'll just move on. Now, this piece is very interesting. I really, really love this piece. This artist in the monthly White Art Challenge doesn't seem to have a name, but goes by like these little graphics at the top here. So I can't tell you who this is, but this is a submission for one of the month's themes, a girl in a garden. This person clearly has some very, very good drawing skills. And again, I think it's coming back to that charming, lovely innocence. White arts have a pretty huge spectrum, and this is what we're looking at today. And I think this comes back to what I was talking about before. The goal, of getting back to that. It's a lovely piece, and we've all seen the "It's okay to be white" memes, where you have beautiful Aryan girls, in like flowing fields, and maybe they'll have a baby with them or something in a lovely, flowing white dress or something, and those are very charming. So this, I think, is kind of like that. Only I just really can't emphasize how much I love the drawing, the actual technical drawing here. So I don't know what's going on with Aya. I see that he seems to be logged in, but I cannot hear him. Maybe his microphone on his phone is off. I'm glad you guys can hear me. So I guess I'm going to have to wing it here for a bit until he can get back on. we'll just keep cruising here. So Sally Hosfrow is also exquisite drawing skills here. Very, very lovely. Inspired to do this sketch for the garden theme. I'd like to fully develop it into a painting, but not sure I have the time. Da da da. So sometimes these kind of raw, simple drawings are better than like fully fleshed out oil paintings. I find there's something very true to this. It's the first impression that an artist has in like kind of a getting a feeling across, and then sometimes you can lose that in the course of doing your art, which can be tragic when you ruin a painting. Here's another one from GD. Again, if we look in closely, you can see there's like lots and lots of tiny little dots. And this is called stippling. That is a graphic technique, kind of an art technique for illustration that's very common. And it's a lovely piece, you know. There's something very dreamlike about it. I wonder if the symbol on her chest is something to do with Asatru Odinism, or is it just a pretty design? I don't quite know. Let's see if the audience has any comments on this as well. Feel free to chime in. Let me keep cruising along. We saw that before. This is really a nice piece here. I love this piece. Again, some of the artists don't go by names, but like this is a lotus and a crocodile and a lotus. So like that seems to be it's a symbolic name, I guess, if you will. So beautiful handcrafted works here. I think that many of us have seen this symbol before. It's associated with white pride. You can see the sun and grad down here. Just really cool stuff. I like how this is a sort of a sword, but it also has kind of like a floral pattern on there and the beautiful inlay. So these crafts are gorgeous. They're just lovely. It's great to see craft work in our sphere now. Okay, forwarded by from Quiet Patience. This submission, loosely based on Bernini's sculpture depicting the ecstasy of Saint Teresa. That's a very, very famous sculpture. I don't expect everybody to know it, but if you ever Google Bernini's ecstasy of Saint Teresa, it'll blow your mind. It's a powerful image. So it's really cool when art makes reference to art, you know, especially in our culture, right? When we are able to tie our art to the history of art, you know, and you can kind of see a sort of a rose window pattern, that something that you might see in a church over here. There's some interesting geometric shapes happening in here, interwoven with these kind of organic shapes. So there's really a lot going on in here. There's quite a lot happening here. I think that, you know, there's a lot of discussion that could like revolve around this. Now, Aaron Arts did this piece here. Aaron, hey, you're back.
Can you hear me? Hey,
Yes.
wonderful.
Yay.
The cakes are trying to stop me, but I will not be stopped.
Yes, we cannot be stopped. We cannot be stopped. I tell you, you can knock us down and we'll come back twice as hard. So
back with a bang, to quote the Screwdriver song.
Yes. So it sounds like you're on your phone now. So you're just going to need to speak like closer to the phone so that you come across more clearly. But
of course, is this good?
Yeah, it's okay. So
apologies,
just moving on.
Again.
I'm sorry?
Apologies.
Oh, no. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to try to zoom in on this a bit. So Aaron Arts is a guy that I actually had on my channel some time ago. He is a great artist who has actually infiltrated the art world. And I'm not sure where he lives. And for some reason, I'm thinking California, but maybe the water has something to do with it. Anyway, this is a really nice, what's called plein air painting, which is just you go out and you just, you know, paint in nature directly. But it's a real interesting approach to the paint handling. Very, very I don't know, something kind of soft and dreamy like. It's just different. It's not like this kind of tight photographic quality. It's very impressionistic. I just thought it'd be nice to show some of his work. And this kind of like going out and painting directly from nature, that's a very old Western tradition. This is how it was done, a long time ago. So it's nice to see him doing that. What do you think about Aaron Art's his work? Oops, here's another work of his. What are your thoughts? Oh yeah,
Wonderful, very, very skilled, of course. I mean,
yeah.
that goes for everybody in our group. Well, almost everybody.
Hmm.
We had a few weird infiltrators, but besides
Ah,
those, everyone was really skilled.
it's weird about these infiltrators. I don't quite get it. I feel like, what do you think you're going to accomplish by what are you going to do? Like we're talking about our stuff, we're doing our stuff, like you know, it's like get a
Yeah,
hobby or something. But anyway,
literally.
yeah. So I'm going to move on here. This is Aaron Art again, and I'm going to zoom in a bit. Now this piece is a little more like direct propaganda. White men built this, white men built this, white men are this nation. So this is old war poster revamped. So he's kind of doing that. But I don't know. Any thoughts on this? Any comments?
Well, this is, as you said before, we have a pretty big range in our group. So this is obviously more towards the propagandistic poster style art, which
Right.
has a place, of course. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
entirely needed. It's a
Mhm.
wonderful, wonderful composition. I really like this. I wonder if the 1.0 is a reference to, Rob Rondo and the Active Club
Right.
movement.
That I
Which,
have another episode on my channel interviewing Rob Rundo. So I
oh,
would
you
recommend,
do?
yeah, because of media to rise. I mean, that's media, that's culture. It's a really, really good interview. And Rob is a political prisoner now. So this is obviously an extremely serious situation, with that. But I recommend people go back into this channel and check out my interview with Rob. So
I've got
yeah,
my evening entertainment sorted.
yeah, check it out. Yiz made a good comment. I like positive propaganda stuff. I think this is interesting that like to point out positive, like take pride in what you do. I think that's an important thing to get across. And messaging, I think, is important. We've sort of talked about that before. And like, what are the goals of the group? Maybe you could talk a little bit more about the goals of the group. What are the kind of conversations you have with the group on Telegram?
Oh wow. To be honest, I'm not really the guy to talk to. That'd be Jay.
Oh,
But
okay. Okay.
I mean, the goals of our group is, I
Yeah.
suppose, we have our monthly challenges going.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's any goals of like a real life meetup or anything like that. But I
Hmm.
think it's more, general getting the message out there,
Hmm.
sharpening, iron sharpening iron and stuff.
I got it. Got it.
Making,
And
yeah.
supporting each other. It's a community. We support each other in the arts, right? So what needs to happen is more community support outside. More collectors, more galleries, more magazines, more media. I always really push the viewers of my show to share, share, share. Engage as much as you can. We engage a lot online with like debates and these kinds of things. We're discussing the minutia of politics and yada yada, but there's a whole scene of like amazing art coming out of our world here that the left doesn't know about, the normies don't know about. We need to get that across. So that's something I just want to kind of pop in here. So let's take a quick peek at this stuff. Here's some metal work. Again, more variety. um this There's a little comment down here. It says Rob Rundo was one of the first movement figures to reach out and show support for me and my work. I'm sure most of you are aware of his recent arrest, and if you're like me, you want to help somebody. um The fasces piece was inspired by the Will to Rise emblem. Willtorise.com or .org. I would check that out. Will number 2 Rise. Check out their media. This is forwarded from Austrian Art Academy. So, we're connected. Artists are connected with activists. And now that brings up a whole interesting topic right there. Like, how could activists and artists collaborate? What do you think about that? Oh, yeah.
By creating artist activists and activist artists, of course.
Yeah, you could see, like, in a sense, we produce media, and like they can be the ones that use it, that weaponize it per se. I don't, want to use so
You
much
know,
military. Yeah.
I was about to pull a. Is it Socrates that said that the
Mhm.
men who separate the society that separates its scholars from its fighting men, yada yada. Are you familiar?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could only paraphrase it. It's something like, if the meaning of it, I think, is something to the effect that a society cannot just be scholars. That the warriors are like as important, if anything, without. And this is why I've always been a strong proponent of Christian nationalism. I know that I don't want to get into the discussion of like Odinism versus Christianity. Rather, look at all the Christians in Western civilization and get them off their butts to get engaged in protecting Western civilization. This is a message I've been pounding into my Christian friends: is if you don't stop turning the other cheek, you won't have another cheek to turn. You've got to become nationalist. You've got to protect yourself, your people, your communities, your countries, your traditions. Otherwise, you won't have it. Your children, grandchildren will not have these things. So, yeah, it's heavy stuff. It's funny because earlier we're like, oh, fairies and nymphs and elves, and like, charming things, and then
Yeah.
bang, you slam into that. But
Yep.
it is, those are the things we're trying to protect, is that the purity and the innocence, right? And you can't do that just living in a bubble, right? So let's move forward here. Red Cedar is one of the creators in the group, and he's also an admin of the monthly art challenge. It's too bad he couldn't come on the show today. I invited him. Whatever, didn't work out, but I'm going to have a chance here to read this that he shared. Death of a Pub. The carpet stains linger, bathed in pools of light. Now no one lifts a finger, boarded up but breaking through, ivy climbs unhindered. The bar creaks hesitantly, releasing a long contained sigh of lost conversations, meetings on the fly. Cobwebs blossom on the glasses, springtime for spiders, a dish rag that never passes. Men walk by outside in quiet sorrow. The black horse is cracked and faded. Perhaps he'll ride again tomorrow. So this is again just like a snapshot of a pub, like a place where people meet, just a normal everyday part of kind of Western culture. It's a nice piece. What did you think
Yeah.
of that?
An interesting opposite to Martel's poem, right?
Right, we're kind of bouncing back and forth between like these folk arts and sort of charming sort of messages to like the propaganda stuff here. Here's another nice piece. I think it looks like the name here is Fierce, Firce. And then the work of crochet. Now, my great grandmother used to crochet, and I always thought like it was really sad to see that kind of disappeared. Like, young women today don't do that. They don't know how to do that. And I feel
I
in
disagree.
in, in America anyway. I don't know where. I
Yeah.
mean, not. I'm happy to hear that it's alive and well where you are. My mom was great at knitting. She would knit sweaters and blankets and all kinds of lovely stuff. And her grandmother did this kind of crochet, which looks really complicated. Um, but yeah, lovely to see this stuff. Any comments?
Well, it's obviously amazing, wonderful work. My great grandmother also uh, crocheted and did stuff like that. But uh, I've actually noticed like a revival of that kind of thing
Very good.
around people my age, like
Hmm.
high school girls knitting. It's
Oh my
wonderful
God.
to see.
No, that's
Yeah,
marvelous. I'm really happy to hear
yeah,
that. So there you go. I mean, this is part of the group is reviving traditional arts and cultural arts. So that's quite nice. Um, it takes a lot of patience with that. And then simple things like this. We've got a Lug, I
uh,
think is the name of this creator. Um, Carved slate garden knickknack. I mean, these are just one or two little samples. There's lots of samples on the Telegram. What I'm trying to do is give like a nice overview.
of the
Um,
world. Yeah, this is
yeah,
crazy. I remember them.
this is a fun piece here. Kind of, you can tell it's some sort of interior. I wonder if that's like if I were a kid and that were in my bedroom, I would be so psyched. It was a pretty cool. Can you tell us a little bit about this? This is clearly, some kind of Norse mythology or religion. Can you talk a little bit about the symbolism in this painting?
Of course, of course. This is right before the things heralding Ragnarok, the end of the world. You've got,
Okay.
sorry, you've got Heimdall blowing his horn. That's
Mm,
to
mhm.
symbolize doom is approaching.
Oh,
You've got
but he's
Thor in his.
he's black in the Marvel movie. So maybe are you sure
Yeah,
that's
I
him?
know. No, no, no. It might be. I might be wrong here.
Yeah,
I might be
right.
completely out.
Didn't you know there were Africans in Jotunheim and all that? No, you didn't know
Yeah, yeah, of course. I saw that. They've been expunged by white racist
that. Oh,
people.
sure, of course. Yeah, we diversity is our greatest strength, right?
Of course,
I'm
obviously.
sorry. I digress. If you can get back on explaining the story here.
Then we've got in the upper corner, we've got Fenrir, the wolf, eating the moon. That's
Oh, wow.
towards the end of Ragnarok. That's like brother will slay brother. The great wolf will break his chain and eat the moon. You've got Asgard in the corner there with Bifrost, the rainbow bridge.
Mhm.
Another perversion of white culture, the rainbow being for the faggots.
Oh
It's
my God.
obviously
Right.
yeah. Don't even get me started on that shit, man. It
No,
makes me so mad.
me too, man.
Uh,
I get very curious about that too. Yeah.
then we've got in the
Mm-hmm.
middle there, we've got Thor with Mjolnir. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not the Liam Hemsworth because the man there is actually masculine in the mural with a red
Mm-hmm.
beard as Thor riding out
Yes.
to fight the giants. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe the head there that's Odin slaying Ymir. I might be wrong. I think it is
Mm-hmm.
because he's supposed to, you know, he kills Ymir and makes the world out of his body.
Oh,
I'm sorry if uh, I'm not explaining the myths, that in detail. Since I've been raised almost in this culture, it's difficult for me to just, know where to start explaining things.
wow. Yeah. Well, I think that was wonderful what you did. It helped us to enjoy this piece a lot more. So let's move on to some other pieces here. This is from Maiden's Hair. My piece for this month symbolizes the passing of one's life to another, a rebirth. We pass our knowledge and our language along with everything those before us were. We pass the stories of our parents, and their parents before them. Fond memories of siblings, cousins, and old friends. Our hands become their hands that cooked, worked, sewed, and created. Although they may be gone, and one day we too will be gone from this earth, our lives become immortalized through that of our descendants. Now, that is some beautiful sentiment right there. Very, very beautiful and powerful. The old hand passing an egg onto a young hand, and the framing of it is also very pretty, very lovely. Have to jump in quickly on this. I posted a response on some Instagram post about like how Something, it was one of those like lefty, oh, we shouldn't, don't have babies because then you can't go out and vacation all the time, and don't have children because it's too expensive, and it's bad for the environment, blah, 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 all this garbage that these nihilists think. And I went in there and posted something and like destroyed them all, with just simple truth and knowledge. And that post is up to like 150 likes today, and I only posted it like 2 days ago. And the lefties are going ballistic on me. They're posting, and a lot of them are just people insulting me, and a lot of them are like trying to explain how important it is to not have children, and I mean, just like absurd. And I'm trolling the hell out of them. I'm just laughing my head off. Yeah. Anyway, looking at this piece, it plugs right into that whole topic about how vital it is to start families and to connect to our roots and our past. And it's done in such a lovely, charming way. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, you said it best, man.
Oh, shucks. Okay. All right. Wow. So I really like this piece a lot. This is from Jay Ladark again. Big fan of Jay. She is killing it out there. This is her April submission. Let's see. Beltane is the theme. It's rebirth. Through a green man was very fitting. There might be some mythology. Do you know anything about this image, or is this some kind of a nymph, a forest nymph, or something?
This is I am not too familiar, but I know it's a English thing, Anglo-Saxon,
Okay.
Arthurian mythos kind of deal.
I
But
got it.
there's like it's something about the man who guards the trees and a
Right.
kind of spirit, a forest spirit that you
I
need to
got
placate to ensure
mm
continuity and stuff like that.
Oh,
But
what a
very,
perfect statement. Ensure continuity. That connects to what we just saw, the idea of continuity of family. But here
mhm.
it's continuity of nature. It's really cool. I just really love, I don't know, me being a comic book guy, I look at this and I'm like, like I could make a great comic book story about this guy. And, looks really wicked. Beautifully
Yeah, check
painted.
him out.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say I'm ashamed that I need to learn more about mythology, and become more familiar with these things. So here's another work. Oh, this one's from JL. My submission for April is Persephone, the rebirth of spring and the cycle of the seasons. So this is interesting. She seems to be eating oh god, the word just slipped my mind suddenly. It's that fruit with all the red seeds inside. It's kind of I think it
Pomegranate.
symbolized pomegranate. Yeah, I think to my understanding, it's a symbol of sexuality. So I don't know if that was the intention of JL. But there's a lovely painting. Nice piece here. What I'm really liking is the use of mythology, that we're kind of bringing that back in. It's not just like a person, but there's something deeper there, and it's echoing mythology. Now, this is quite phenomenal. This looks kind of like maybe somebody's, I don't know if this is going to be a sword or something, but I just wanted to represent that there's a lot of different crafts in this group, ironworking from Tony, the King of Borgar. So that's quite impressive.
Seems
Have you seen more of his work?
actually, I've seen more of his work. He makes uh sea axes and like knives and stuff. It's really cool.
That's wicked. My brother actually used to do that. It was a kind of a hobby of his for a long time. And I feel like that's a pretty cool thing. It's interesting
It's
to me how, like,
amazing.
yeah, like men love ironwork, and women like crochet, these things. I have to say, there's something beautiful about that like the feminine and the masculine arts. And I mean, that's a whole topic that maybe we could go into at some point as well. Again, this is our jewelry crafter. No name here, but we can see some interesting work here. Progress on my submission for this month. I broke the stone. There was supposed to be a gem in the center of this here, but I'm debating drilling and filling it in to make a wreath. Anyway, it's just nice to see the variety of work. And that there's so many different kinds of crafts here. Here's another piece. This one's by GD. I'm not sure if this piece is finished. I think this is the final version of this is painted. Have you seen this piece?
I have. I think that's the green. A,
Yes.
a green man. Another one.
Right, the Green Man again. So this is like another version of it, which I think is really nice in this. I wonder what kind of material he's using or she's using. I don't know.
Wood. Or either wood or like
Hmm.
clay, I guess.
It looks like some kind of a clay. Yeah. And then this piece, let me give a little context here. Folkish Rob, forward from Gorelord, repainted Brunhilde based on a better sketch. So artists a lot of times will do a rough sketch and then do a painting from the sketch. Brunhilde, we can, if we look closely at the sword, it's very hard to see, but there's that life symbol down at the bottom on the sword here. Do you know anything about this story?
Yes, this is Nibelungen. The ring of the what's the English name? Fucking hell. You know Wagner's opera. Uh,
Well,
fuck.
tell us the story. What is the story about? What does it mean?
Well, the story follows the Nibelungen clan basically, and their kind of exploits against their enemies, and how their great ancestor Sigurd he kills a no fuck that's the Volsungen. Uh, he kills a dragon, and
Okay.
he kind of gains power, mythological power out of it, and
Wow.
then that power gets passed down, and he gets cursed, and there's a lot of betrayal, and this is. Uh, it's been so long since I read this, but this is Brunhilde burning her husband because he has been killed by
Hmm.
I think it's his brother or something like that. It's a great tragic story, and everyone should read it.
It's kind of a like
I
sort of Shakespearean in its way, I suppose.
yeah, it's Shakespearean basically Shakespearean
Mm.
Germanic story.
Wow. Again, the bringing in our mythology and reconnecting us with who we are, these ancient stories. Yiz is adding a comment here. Mythology is full of beautiful tragedy that teaches us lessons. So there's parables tied into all these things. And I think it's also probably teaching us or training us about maybe human nature and the things that you would want to have some worldly wisdom about. So this is a really really good point. Um,
I gotta say though something that if I'd known you'd had me recite the entire Norse uh, tradition, uh, I would have read up on my Edda, man.
yeah,
It's been a
that's
while.
well, yeah, that's a lot of pressure to put on you, I would say. But anyway, I think let me see if I feel as if we covered most of everything. I'm going to kind of jump back through the works that we've looked at today. Um, there's poetry, there's illustration, there's painting, there's crafts, music, drawing, and then there's some other funny things going on. Little AI art, and we're back to your artwork here. It's quite lovely. And my book here, Western Aesthetics. This is the last piece that we were talking about when the computer went
Broke.
down here. Yeah. Now, I don't know if this is really just something whimsical and fun or if there's actually a mythological story behind this. Perhaps the artist would be better at explaining that to us, but I think that's a fun piece. Oh yeah. Okay. So Quiet Patience um, posted this in the group. A work in progress, not for this month's challenge, but it fits acrylic on canvas. Wanting to get into oil yada yada. So like again, I'm seeing like a really strong theme of life and death and growth and connection with the spirit world. What are your interpretations or thoughts on this piece?
Oh, well, it's. I believe they said something about it being connected to tarot and alchemy, and I don't know a lot about that particular tradition,
Hmm.
so I can't really comment aside from it being a really pretty work of art.
Yeah. I think what we're seeing though here is that there's a culture of, for lack of a better word, a kind of a indigenous spirituality that we're seeing in a lot of these artists. So I love that. It's beautiful and it's moralizing, it's uplifting to our people, but the thing is, our people have to come see the arts. Like it's not going to, enrich and kind of heal our culture if people aren't connected to our culture, if they're just constantly going to these talk shows that are given the next hot take and blah blah blah. We're more than that. We're more than a kind of a news cycle of hot takes. And I'm not insulting the movement or whatever, but there's this tendency to do that. We've already done that. We have lots of that already. What's next? And like let's turn around and give some time and attention to all these great new artists that are coming up in our sphere. So let's see what else we missed here. Raw Milk Racism has put this one on here. This is his piece of Alexander the Great. So it's nice to see, again, people working on these themes of history, people developing their art skills. As I said earlier in the show, you only have one painting, you just do it over several canvases. This could be a study for a larger piece, but there's a lot of things happening here. It's nice. This is a nice one by Hank Harper, MKV. We looked at some of MKV's work earlier. Sun Wheels. This is a nice oil painting here on the side. And again, these things have been demonized by our enemies. I mean, I'm surprised that the ADL doesn't say that the Christian cross is a hate symbol. I mean, it seems like they really would love to, but Christianity is too big and too mainstream still for
In
them to do.
America.
Yeah, in America, for them to do that. I mean, I don't know. I can only speak for America. Whereas these are more esoteric. Of course, obviously the connection with the National Socialism swastika. But the Sonnengrad, I mean, to call that a hate symbol, it's really just targeting us and demonizing us. That's all. There's nothing, whereas like, I always say to people, if let's say I meet you and I want to get to know you, should I ask your enemy about you? Of course not. You want to represent yourself. Listen to me directly. Talk to me directly to get to know me. If you like me or disagree with me, you can determine that yourself. But don't go to my enemy and try to understand who I am. You see what I'm saying? So that's the same
That's
thing with,
wise, man. That's really wise.
yeah. And
Profound.
so that's why we are so ghosted. The white identity movement is so censored. It's Republicans and conservatives think we're evil because they listen to our enemies. Antifa said they were bad, so okay, we should trust what they say. Yeah, let's trust communists. Where's the logic in that? How about talk to us
Uh,
directly and find out who we are, what we're about? So I'm sorry, I love to get on my little
that
preaching.
that's I mean that's also a kind of flaw of the American system, right? You've only either got the Republicans or you got the Democrats. It's
Yeah, yeah. And
it's
Republicans
for
are
me it's a
Democrats.
strange system.
Say again. I'm sorry.
For me that's a kind of strange system because
Mm.
most European countries we have like 8 or 10 parties and they're all trying to work together to find a majority. So it's
Hmm.
interesting to see how you have the two-party system going.
I always, when people say America or Americans, especially from Europe, I always try to distinguish Zog from the people of America, like the heritage Americans like ourselves. So
Of course.
people like myself and my neighbors or whatever, we didn't make it that way. These are things that the government and the people controlling the government set up. There are other parties. They don't really get, they don't get any real traction. But yeah, I agree. It would be, for starters, I'm not a big fan of democracy. Like I don't.
Who is?
Yeah, yeah. To me, it's just soft socialism. It's just a way. It's highly corruptible. But this is an excellent example of how the arts work. They stimulate conversation. Look at how we're sharing and growing and learning from each other, just based off of responding to crafts and paintings and things. So JL, this is hysterical.
This made me laugh so much. I showed this to my mom, and she just bust a gut. It was
Oh
wonderful.
my God, I love this so much. I gotta jump on and see what the comments are here. I'll jump back to the comment screen. So here we have an image of this plein air painting. Remember how we talked about plein air painting, where you go out and paint in reality out on the street or something, and it's the Bank of America, and he's painting it burning. If you look at the back of his shirt, it says like Shitty Bank. That's like there's a bank called Citibank in America, and it's changed to Shitty Bank, and it's using like the same logo. So this guy is clearly he's clearly a hater of the banks, So what's funny? Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, who doesn't hate the banks, right?
Right, of course, that's a whole other topic. So bingo, there you go. What does art do but stimulate research, conversation, cognitive abilities, social emotional intelligence? The arts are not effing like decoration that you just sort of like throw up on a wall so you don't have to look at a blank space. It is a really, really critical part of humanity, being a human being, partaking in your culture, interacting with each other, all of this kind of discourse. So it helps you grow and learn, and that's kind of the art education angle. So here's what I find fun and interesting about this is, yes, you have the painting, but this is a photograph of a man wearing that shirt doing the painting. You see what I'm saying? So this isn't a painting, it's a photo of all these events. So that, in a sense, is the actual art, is that the photo of it. You could look at the painting itself separately as on its own context. But I just find that an interesting added dimension to this. So anyway, let's move on here a bit. Oh, God. A portrait of Chuck Schumer by Spurg. Oh, this is this hurts my eyes, actually. I think my stomach is
fucking evil. Fucking Christ.
It's so funny. Yeah. There was an artist in the 80s. I'll be darned if I can remember his name, but he did portraits of the George Bush administration and all of these like warmongers, basically. And he used a painting style that was very brutal. Like I think he used like a butcher knife to scrape the painting on the canvas, and the paintings were ugly as hell. Like they were, he was creating it was essentially showing this same kind of feeling here, that I'm talking about. And I mean, Chuck Schumer has the phenotype, he's got that classic World War II Jewish propaganda face that you see. And there's clips of him, in synagogue saying like, let me be clear, everything I do in politics is for Israel. I mean, he's not even hiding it,
Well,
So it's rough. It's rough living under Zog. It's rough. But the arts give us a chance to lampoon that. You know what I'm saying?
this might make a lot of people very, very mad, but I think we should take a couple of pages out of the Jewish playbook. I mean, look at them; they're very successful.
Okay, there's a movie out right now, Dungeons and Dragons. Now, what could be more white than Dungeons and Dragons? It's been around since probably the 70s. I don't really know when it started. I think 70s.
Yeah, 70s.
And like high school kids played it, and then adults play it. And what Dungeons and Dragons? It's about our kind of medieval culture and the mythology of all that. Well, the movie Dungeons and Dragons is 100% clearly anti-white. It makes, even the director said something to the effect of, the goal of this movie is to like embarrass or humiliate the white man who's like the main character, and then to set up this brown guy as like the real hero, you know. And they always have to steal our narrative. They have to steal our glory. They can't just go out and make their own damn culture. They have to like infiltrate and destroy our culture. So, you know, this is fair game. You know, making a portrait like this is fair game. And I mean, they've got billions of dollars to produce this garbage, and we've got pen and ink. You know,
Yeah,
you know,
all is fair in love and war, and we are most certainly at war.
yeah, clearly. Another piece by GD. I'm really becoming a big fan of GD. Again,
Yeah,
a
he's
lot
always
of this.
amazing.
Yeah, a lot of this. This clearly Caesar, the Ides of March, the knives in the back here. Um, just it's very eloquent. It's very simple. I guess as an artist, art teacher, my only thing that I'd like to tell him is to add more contrast. I'd love to see darker blacks, and but that is an aesthetic choice to make a piece one kind of monotone and have like a very small range of tone being like the range between light and shadow. Okay, so, but regardless, it's very delicately put together. You know, what's your reaction to this piece?
Pure wonderful. Uh, I just agree with what you said. You said though I'd like more contrast, just for the sake of clarity. By the way, did you say you were an art teacher?
I was an art teacher for many years, like 15 years actually. I went and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
certified. I'm a certified art teacher. It actually, I just had the idea last night when I was downloading these pictures to perhaps maybe do like a short art education course on my channel.
That'd be
And
wonderful.
that, you know, that could be, I'm really more drawing and painting. Um, Mm, and then essentially offering that to the people in the White Arts Challenge. You know, like I said, there's like 330 members. You know, and I don't know if they're all artists. I assume there's just some people that want to come and enjoy, like fans of the arts. That's perfectly fine, so long as they're vetted, I guess. But yeah, anyway.
We actually have a pretty strict process to ensure that like most people are artists.
Mhm.
You gotta, at least before we had a rule that you had to post at least one or two works after a certain number of days of being a member.
Oh, that makes
Prove
good
like
sense. Yeah. Well, Jay runs a tight ship. She is, like I say, she's one of the matriarchs in our culture, and I have like a great deal of respect for her. So I know that she's really like no bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah
She does not tolerate bullshit. So like, if you're working with her, you're gonna get high quality stuff. So
yeah.
so
So
here's another.
sorry for cutting out again. There's
Oh,
something wrong here.
oh, you got to
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
All
No, no,
right,
no,
you.
no, no. No, I don't have to go. It's just my mother. She keeps calling me, and that interrupts the connection.
I see.
But it's fine.
Okay, because you're on your phone.
Yeah.
So here's a piece by Velez. I always hate embarrassing myself by not pronouncing things correctly, but again, a very lovely, charming piece. How would you say this fits into the monthly challenge and the goals of the monthly challenge?
This is from this month's theme, and I can't actually remember off my top. Gardens. Yeah, we this month's theme was gardens, and I think
Gardens. Okay, gardening,
yeah,
gardens.
she's
Right,
holding a flower, right? It was.
right, right, right.
I think that's the connection.
I
Not
think
always.
what's unique about this, excuse me, is the use of the texture on here. It's as if this person kind of put like a gesso or some kind of transparent film over it to give it more texture. In a way, it's not sort of flat. It just gives some, or maybe that's like the wood grain. I can't quite tell, but
It's
it
done on
makes
canvas.
yeah, it makes it more lively though visually, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here is actually that's the second of two. So Velez again. Okay, so here are some of his pieces. We saw the Uncle Ted piece over here. Here's some charcoal, pen, pencil, more works of his. You can see different themes and different art techniques. This is what I am impressed by, is that the kind of ancient stone carving piece on the top right with the stippling. He's got that kind of sketchiness that he uses with Uncle Ted. This is more of like something you would do in art school where you're kind of blending. This is a really, really beautiful piece right here, very realistic, nice use of like illustrative lines. And then the guy's got some painting chops, some
Yeah,
lovely pieces here. Evola, he's got this piece of Evola that he's working on. It's really just all about our people. I think it's just glorifying our people. Would you agree?
I agree. That's what this is all about.
That's a simple question there. I threw you a bone right there. Yeah, I want to see if the audience has any comments as well on this. Good to have some people joining us here. Welcome to everybody. I'm so happy to have you join us today for this. We had some tech issues earlier. I'm going to have to go in and edit that stuff out for the final piece, but let's move on. Vril Aurora is creating beautiful handcrafted jewelry. I make gemstone, metal, clay, and wood jewelry, various types of artwork, and orgonite, and also release music from time to time. I see our people are so talented. It's crazy, all these multi-talented people in the movement. I also have an Etsy shop called North Spirit Runes and Stones. I'm based in Finland and would love to see more of what you all do, et cetera, et cetera. So here's a really, really pretty piece. It's very, very nice. These works, I think, are fantastic. I love them. I always marvel at how people can work so small, like this kind of metal crafting that they do. It's quite
Yeah,
charming.
it's wonderful. I can't wrap my mind about how you do something that detailed, that small.
And it beautifies the world. You see what I'm saying? It's not like
Hmm.
this is the problem with modernism and postmodernism, is its entire purpose is to destroy tradition and to destroy beauty. I I'm not going to go off on a big preaching lecture about that, but the simple act of creating beauty now has become like dissident. It's become some kind of a rebellion. And I know that you might be able to go to a craft fair or a store or something and pick up these pieces, but it's about context. When somebody joins the White Art Challenge, the monthly White Art Challenge, they are deliberately making a choice to associate with and contextualize their work, their crafts, within white identity and the protection and celebration of our traditions and our people. So God bless her. I love this work, and I look forward to seeing more. This
That
picture
was a
is
really nice banner, by the way. We should have that as like the message that every new member gets.
yeah, and I mean this is what my show is about. It's kind of what it's always been about. It's just I'm doing my part within the movement in my way with my tools and resources. If I were, I don't know if I were a politician or a military guy or something, I would have different things to say, different things to contribute. I'm an artist. This is from Orion here, my first making jewelry. I'm going to actually try to flip this image around to see it properly. I think that's cool as hell. Would you happen to know the meaning? Would you happen to know the meaning of that rune? Is it a lightning bolt or?
Well, it's obviously the lightning bolt, as you said, SS lightning bolt.
Mhm.
As of the meaning, not the esoteric meaning escapes me. I've actually haven't researched like the, as I said, the esoteric part of the runes yet. I'm getting into it, but slowly.
Okay. The people I know that are into runes have explained to me that it's not black and white, that these symbols have like a broader meaning, that they can mean a number of different things, and that it's not like, oh, you're gonna find love today, or or like you're gonna win the lottery. It's not like that, which I think, maybe people are looking for those answers maybe when they use runes or tarot cards or what have you. But yeah, anyway, that's something inspiring, something to look into. I think that's pretty cool. And I feel like it's important to circle back to the pillar members of the White Art Collective here. Lord Wolfshield's Fedora Favorites 2022. Here you've got Emily Yukis, you've got Hyrith, Alma Lahar, and the great Lord Wolfshield on the cover. I love the mock queen cover. This is one of the fun. This is part of why Lord Wolfshield is such an important member of the White Art Collective, is because he brings humor, and he's very based, but when you kind of hang out with him or see his content or whatever, it's generally fun, and I love that we have to bring that in. And I think that circles back to what you're saying about the monthly challenge group, is bringing back lighter things. Like, it doesn't all have to be like white genocide, or all this kind of heavy stuff. We can't become consumed by the fires of anger. I mean, we have righteous anger, but we have to control it. And I think having some fun and some of the more pure, naive, charming arts helps us to create that balance. So once again, the whiteartcollective.com, you can go there and go to the WAC. You've got WAC Media Store, or wacmedia.store. That's where you can pick up this. There's our people in there. You can listen to music by Olivia Key, Jody Kay, whom I absolutely adore, Alma Lahar, of course, phenomenal. Sven Pai, Time and Place is phenomenal, of course. Hyrith, Sun Vessel. There's just like such an amazing array of music there with so much good stuff. It's just, again, it's all about getting the media to the people. So that's part of why I'm here. And I really hope that everybody in the chat can do their part to get the message out, share these links. Again, I'm going to have to do a little editing to get that tech issue out of the earlier part of the show. But I want to wrap it up here. I think it's been an amazing show, a little bit long, but very, very rich. Aya, do you want to have any final comments about your work, about the monthly challenge group?
Well, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity for coming on and spreading the word, as it were. It's been really fun. It's a very enjoyable experience. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. This is the first time I've been live on air,
awesome.
Which is kind of cool, to be honest.
Yeah, minus the tech problems, right?
That aside.
Yeah.
But it's been wonderful, and
so what is the
telegram?
I guess I should put that in the show notes. It's the monthly White Art Challenge on Telegram. Yeah. So if you guys, anybody wants to look up monthly White Art Challenge Telegram. So there's a bit of a vetting process. It's mostly artists in there, but I'm sure that other supporters of the arts can come in. We really, really need a class of people to set up kind of art galleries, magazines, marketing. If people listening to this have those skills, please come to our community, the whiteartcollective.com. You can reach out to Jeff Winston. You can reach out to me, anybody in our sphere. So please go ahead and, grab the ball and get in the game, So I'm very, very happy to see our friends in the community. Yiz is here, Robert Pyle. We've got some new people. I came along. It's just been wonderful to see some old friends here. Imperial Crusader 21, big fan of my show. So thanks again. And we want to thank everybody for joining. Please share, subscribe, like, and remember my new book, Imperium Calling, is on Amazon. You can buy that through the link in the show notes. Thank you, Aya, and we'll see you guys on the internet. Have a wonderful day.
Could I add a final thing before we?
Go ahead. I almost turned off the show. One more thing. Hit it up.
It's a quote from the Edda, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Cattle die, kinsmen die. One day too you shall die. I know one thing that never dies, the fame of a dead man's deed. And that's what
Mm,
art is all about,
oh,
making
amen.
sure you stay alive for beyond your time, right?
Art is immortality,
Not
you know,
art is
and
immortality.
it is. We will speak, our work through history will speak to generations and generations from now. So, that's a beautiful thing. And be a part of that culture. Carry that torch. All right. Blessings to everybody. Have a beautiful day. Do good. And we'll see you.
Bye.